I'd like to call to order the Thursday, April 15th, 2021, Port Washington Plan Commission, my last Plan Commission, and don't forget today's tax day, theoretically. So, with roll call, Judy, absent and excused is Commissioner Ehrlich, otherwise everybody else is here. And with that, I would like a motion to approve the previous minutes of the meeting, please.
So moved.
Alderman Newmeyer, and a second.
I'll second it.
Mayor-elect Knightsky. Any changes to it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public appearances and comments. Anybody here for public appearances and comments? Of course, Joe. Up there, turn the mic on. 3 minutes, and hopefully it pertains to the night's agenda or something close by, please. Mic on, please. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I know we've been, as mayor-elect has been talking about creating partnerships, that kind of stuff. And I think one of the things that we need to think about is we do have a partner city or partner community, whatever it's called, in Germany called Sausnitz. And I think it would be a really cool opportunity to create more partnerships with that partner community, or whatever connections we can.
Sister city.
Yeah, sister city. Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, theoretically, I don't know if you can use that gender or not, but we will. Okay, thank you, Joe. Anybody else here? Raise your hand for public appearance and comments.
Welcome to the call. One moment while your call is connected.
Anybody on the phone for public appearances?
Yes, Lisa Wood.
Okay. You're going to wait till your Prairie's Edge comes up, right, Lisa?
Correct.
Okay. Then I'll close public appearances and comments. And Mr. Brettel, if you would come up and turn the mic on. And Bob, are you going to start it up?
I will start it off. First item is a building site and operation plan. It's for a two-story residential addition at 317 West Grand Avenue. Scott Brettel, Port Washington, Wisconsin, is the applicant. And I'll just put the items up on the screen once I get to it. Narrative. We won't go over that. And so the subject property, it's currently a single-story commercial building on Grand Avenue opposite the public library. The applicant is proposing to redevelop the structure into a three-story mixed-use building. It'll be 4 stories with if you count the rooftop club room on the rooftop. And the space, the commercial space, a commercial space would continue on the ground floor with the residential up above. The zoning is B4, which is Central Business District, or otherwise known as downtown zoning. And in 2019, this was a concept plan that was approved by this body. And also during that time, an exception to exceed the 35-foot by right height limit in the B4 zoning district was also given to this project. And it's the club room on the rooftop that will be exceeding that 35-foot limit. It is the structure itself. The entirety is still within that 35 limit. Again, just we all know it, but here it is, the project location. Here is the previous, or the 2019 concept plan that was approved. Moving along, and now the current proposal is in your packet, and it is above. And as you can see, The changes are still within, or it's still pretty much true to the concept plan. You see the 2 stories above, the maintaining a masonry-based structure with the rooftop clubhouse added. I think there are some differences with the siding style. The siding material remains the same. It's kind of a LP siding. All of the windows will be double hung and operable. There are some differences just with not only the siding, but the masonry base. Again, here we see, the entrance at the ground floor level, and what we have now with the metal arching canopy over the front entrances. And then the other item is more of the rooftop with the decorative metal fencing with the columns. And again, just to contrast with it would look like just kind of a metal, not a masonry or a siding coping or a roof line. And so there we have the differences, but you can see with those slight tweaks, it is still pretty much still remains within the building envelope and remains true to the concept plan. As you see on the right, there is a spiral staircase that's subject to building codes, if it stays or remains or goes or whatever lastly condition. But right now we're looking at the design and use. The color, I do want to say that there was a swatch, I think, at Design Review Board Tuesday night. I think that up and ran away with me. But I would say that the applicant did mention that if you look at the Port Washington Historical Society building on Franklin Street with that gray-green color, that will be the kind of the color they're aiming at with the black window trim. This slide is actually not a representation of the color, but rather the siding type, and just kind of you see the main, the mono color of the building, but rather with that, we'll call it the Port Washington historical green, I guess is what you're proposing. What we can do is just go to Street View real quick. And check out the, just the,
You're close.
and so I think, Scott, that's probably the fair representation of that gray-green you were alluding to? Okay. This item was at the Design Review Board Tuesday night. Generally, it was well received. I think there was one expression of desire for the clear glass or the type of glass that you are planning for.
Yeah, it'll all be clear glass.
Yeah. Other than that, that was generally approved. It was approved by the Design Review Board as presented. As you can, and then that's the end of my summary. And if you have any questions or comments for myself or Mr. Brettel.
I would like to start off with the comments. First of all, in case I know Mr. Knightsky was not here, Commissioner, Mayor-elect, but I went to the library and I went up on top and looked out to see how Mr. Brettel's building would be. Saw no problem with the extra height. My only question is I thought you were going to put an elevator in?
There is an elevator in
Okay.
the interior, yes.
And the staircase is for your wife to walk up and you take the elevator, I would hope?
Yes.
Perfect. Then I would love to see this approved. So anybody else have any questions for Mr. Brettel?
I agree. I would move to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Tony is the second, Ted's the first. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Unanimous me. Thank you, Mr. Brettel.
Thank you.
Good project.
Yep, agreed.
Bob, are you going to do the two-family residence on the west side of North Milwaukee Street? I don't think your mic's on.
Get used to it. Okay, this is Second agenda item, this is a concept plan for a side-by-side duplex in the 200 block of North Milwaukee Street. Robert Bach of Saukville is the applicant, and he is proposing a duplex side-by-side located on the vacant parcel. It's on the west side of Milwaukee Street, south of West Washington Street, and just south of the just recently vacated alley, or a portion of the vacated alley that the council approved. I think it was last year, if not early 21. I want to say last year. Anyways, let me bring up this site plan. So what we were looking at is the kind of the revised, just a conceptual of the side-by-side duplexes at the site. It would be 4 stories, and with garage access on the ground floor, and then 3 stories of residential over. The site itself, the site plan is, no, oops. And so the access, garage access and all of it obviously will be on Milwaukee Street. Siding materials, it's still at the conceptual level, a kind of a work in progress on the design side, but we're looking at LP or smart siding cement board exterior. There is a pitched roofs with a front-facing gable. Balconies both on the east elevation and the south elevation. And then and what we're looking at for this concept plan is really, and I'm repeating myself from Design Review Board, is just kind of getting a feedback not only on the project, the general design or where it's going, and I think what the applicants are also looking at is a possible special exception for the balconies, which will be probably giving up a few feet into the front setback, which is 25 feet. But as of now, we're looking at just kind of the conceptual idea of it, and any design or any other comments you have for Mr. Bach, who is with us tonight.
My only comment would be, as long as we use a cement board or a LP siding, nothing less quality than that, I'd be fine with this.
You do have a question? There is masonry on the
Yes.
lower level by the garages. And the variance or exception we're looking for, if we could take a look at the site plan, and I can point that out to you. The building itself meets the 25-foot setback, and that's from the lot line, and that's probably 28 or 29 feet from the sidewalk. And our balconies will stick out, they haven't been designed yet, it's maximum 8 feet, that those would protrude into the setback, but well back from the sidewalk or anything like that. And on Milwaukee Street there are a number of older buildings. Many of the buildings are very close to the sidewalk even. So this isn't something that you drive down the street and it's going to jump out at you as far as protrusions and things like that. And there's adequate room to park a car between the sidewalk and the garage door that you could still get around it and things like that, because I believe that measurement's about 28 feet. Typical parking stalls now that are being designed are 20 feet in depth. So they'll be comfortable being able to park a car outside the garage if needed.
Alderman Newmeyer?
Thank you. It's very complimentary. I live up the street, and that'll make a nice addition to that lot there.
Thank you.
I have no problem with the setback with the balconies. As you say, there are older residents that probably are right up on and it hasn't proved to be an issue, and I've been here since '84. My only question is, and it's probably to Rob, with the retaining wall, is there any structural issues we have to have looked at before that goes up?
How tall? It's not very tall, is it?
No, it's like maybe 15 feet thereabouts.
Oh, it's 15 feet.
Well, I mean, it's the basement wall is what it is in the back.
Okay.
The-
I can review it if you want to make that a condition.
No, not necessarily a condition. I'm just,
Yeah.
that what staff would review it, not that
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
we have an issue later on. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Bach? Okay,
Just finally, I just want to insert before you move on this item. Tuesday night, this was at the Design Review Board. There was a discussion, and I received this elevation kind of reflects a bit of the initial discussion on the design of the building. There's discussion of making sure that the front gables are, were a little larger and proportional, and this is the elevation that kind of reflects the discussion with kind of a more larger and more proportional gable. I think other comments as part of that review was there was, just maybe some horizontal banding, breaking up the vertical elevation, and also just this nice little vertical band or seam to break up the differentiate between the two units. Overall, though, the Design Review Board granted conceptual approval to the project.
and if the architect, Mr. Ehrlich, was here, he would probably say the same thing. So,
I would move to approve the conceptual plan with the suggestions of the Design Review Board recommendations.
okay,
I'll second that.
that was you, Alderman Newmeyer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any further questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? We're approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Another good project. This one I'm not so sure of, so. Bob, you want to take the Whitetail subdivision? And turn the mic on, please. Thank you.
Yep.
And when Bob's done, we'll state your name and go on from there.
Okay. We have a concept plan for the Whitetail subdivision located north of Terrace Drive and Grushel Road, east of Seven Hills Road. Applicants, Northport Group LLC, Port Washington, Wisconsin, along with Quam Engineering LLC, West Bend. The project is a 70-lot single-family subdivision located, well, as you see, on the north side of the city. It's comprised of 4 zoning districts, and this reflects the previous subdivision that was proposed for the site. I think the last one was in 2005. And so you have a little combination of AG Ag, RS4, 1 and 2 family residential, RS5, 1 and 2 family residential, and RM2, multifamily residential. And with the exception of the RM2 land, which is, I believe, is this little pocket right here, the developers are planning to build using the existing zoning districts. And here is the conceptual lot layout. And you can see the connections, the planned road connections with Terrace Drive and Grushel Road, which is right to the south of the project. And it's, you can see it's the two the triangular and the kind of the larger plot of land here. And this would be primarily residential, and then under with the entrance onto Seven Hills, Street A here, would be duplexes. And this was before the Design Review Board, again, Tuesday night. I think there was a discussion. I just wanted to point out, just going into last meeting and this meeting, just with this concept plan and this location, just issues that were under consideration are the number and placement of cul-de-sacs are appropriate for the site, appropriate for any of the environmental conditions. Is there adequate connectivity, both within the subdivision, with existing subdivisions and for future ones? Is there an opportunity to take advantage of the adjacent Birchwood Hills Nature Preserve? And then what is the, the condition of the adjacent woods on site and how much to be removed? And I think there was some discussion on both the woods area, the layout with any cul-de-sac or the brow into the woods. And this concept plan, the Design Review Board comments on it was to approve the concept plan for a single-family and two-family subdivision, but with also further refinement and discussion of engineering and any conservation issues with the woods area. And so that concludes my summary, and I'll leave it with the applicants.
My name's Kevin Parrish. I'm with Quam Engineering. The layout basically mimics the 2005 overall layout that was approved. I did replace the Loop Street, which is Street D, that kind of does go into the woods. It used to be a cul-de-sac. I put a Loop Street in there to eliminate one cul-de-sac already. Generally, there's 70 lots over about 50 acres, so the density isn't too great. We're trying to avoid the woods in all other areas. We did talk to the town. They're fine with our access on Greshel Road. And I did also talk to the county about connecting to LL, and they are fine with that as well.
I would just think that I would say that I thank the developers because I've been waiting for this for probably close to 20 years. The Weiss has finally put the land up, and thanks for buying it. As long as there's, entrance exits on LL, I'm fine with that. And the only thing I have to say is, I guess in lieu of doing your own little park or whatever the city requires, if the developers would consider fixing up or doing something in Birchwood Hills, whether it's a pavilion or a walking path or something, it would be help the citizens. It would also save the park and rec from mowing and maintaining, where I'd rather have a natural Birchwood Hills type, pavilion. So I just want to thank the developers, and it looks good to me. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I have some comments that I raised at design review. So can we show the site again on the screen, please?
You want the aerial or the?
What you had up earlier, yeah. Yep, that's it. So the area, the woodlands that they've discussed, that has been designated by Sewer Pack as an isolated natural area, and so included in our city's comprehensive plan. Within our district regulations, there's a conservation protection overlay district, and the intention of that's chapter 20. The overlay district is intended to be applied to those lands identified as having significant contributions of natural features, ... including isolated natural areas delineated in the city's comprehensive plan. So this would fall into that category. And so the statement of intent is to prevent the destruction of valuable natural resources, particularly woodlands, wildlife habitat areas, significant water recharge and discharge areas, prairies, recreational, et cetera. So it would be in any case, the intent of this district is to protect areas like this. Hopefully, everyone's had a chance to go up there, as I have. It's a beautiful area. I think it's going to be a very valuable asset to the subdivision. I believe that the city's intent and the comprehensive plan and the creation of the Conservation Protection Overlay District should be imposed on this area that's been designated by Sewer Pack. I don't think that should be ignored. I think it's critical for habitat and migratory birds, and we've made efforts to preserve those areas and other locations in the city, and we should continue to do so. So I would ask that moving forward, that the planner bring that back to add that overlay to the isolated natural area, and that they would adjust their plans accordingly to avoid that. My other concern on an environmental level is the cul-de-sac on the well, I guess it's the westernmost cul-de-sac, and so I just have some concerns. You can see the wetlands that are delineated there. They don't have an updated wetland inventory, although I suspect it'll probably be similar, if not identical. I just have concerns about the way it kind of brings those lots in around the wetlands. I'm a little concerned about stormwater management. Of course, we know that we have flooding concerns downstream, and wetlands, of course, are very critical towards controlling flooding. And I think if we can reestablish some of that prairie cover that was there before it was farmed, that's going to help downstream. I also think, as the mayor alluded to, we have Birchwood Hills, which is this treasure right next door. The plans don't show any access to Birchwood Hills, and so I think that would be a loss for the community up there can you put the other one back up, please, Bob? Sorry. So yeah, there's no access, public access for it. Our city's comprehensive outdoor recreational plan, which was just essentially completed and accepted by the council at their last meeting, included expansion of Birchwood Hills as something to be considered. So I think the Parks Director hasn't had a chance to weigh in on this. So I think before we take access away to the Birchwood Hills, that be something we look at. Again, I think that'd be a real asset to the subdivision. And as far as park location, I think again, they should weigh in, because according to the Corp, we're supposed to have a park every quarter mile to a half a mile. And down at the south end on Greshel Road, they're about almost a half a mile away from Antoine Park. So as you move north, you are beyond that half a mile. Now Birchwood Hills is there, but again, there's no access to the park that's shown. So I think that's something we need to work through. Yeah, I guess those are my concerns. I guess my other concern with that, again, that cul-de-sac that kind of stretches into the wetlands, it's a pretty lengthy road to support four additional homes, so that that adds really about double the infrastructure we typically have to carry in order to serve a home. So typically, we'll get five homes on a cul-de-sac about half that size. So that's it. Just the conservation overlay, and I do have some concerns about that cul-de-sac and access to Birchwood Hills. So sorry to take so much time.
I can respond. We did do some research on the isolated natural area. The sewer pack regulations do show in a woodland you can disturb up to 10% of that, and this plan is less than that. I mean, we can work with you on moving it out of that if you want a little bit, but the developers really would like to maintain this amount of lots to make the project feasible. So, and then we can obviously provide access to Birchwood Hills through an access easement through some of the lots, and we can shorten up some of those lots on that cul-de-sac you were referring to, just to make a little bit more parkland there, I think. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think regarding that, and I got your email yesterday. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to respond. I was in meetings all day today. so I didn't have a chance to really look at it hard. What the Conservation Protection Overlay District, essentially, so sewer pack designates the areas, the comprehensive plan essentially co-ops those areas and incorporates it into the comprehensive plan. But the overlay district is what rules over the clear cutting of the woodland. So if that overlay were to be enacted, which I think it should, that would be the overriding factor. Now, and something we can talk about, and we don't have to talk about it at this meeting, but I mean, just again, looking at the the infrastructure that supports. So that street D is 752 feet. Now, as one of our seasoned developers brought up at the last meeting, it's $800 a foot, and so you're looking at $600,000 in infrastructure costs to construct the road. Do you have any idea what you plan on selling the lots for?
I don't personally, but we would lose 6 lots essentially, or 6.
Right, but you'd have $600,000 in infrastructure investments to sell 6 lots. So if you wouldn't make any money, if you're selling the lots at $100,000 a lot, and that's why I ask. I don't know what your what the intention is, or what they're going for.
Sure.
But that's something you really need to take a close look at.
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
I think the woods are going to be a huge asset. And I think your lot values, if you don't go into the woods, is going to obviously increase dramatically with lower infrastructure costs. So, I mean, honestly, if you can add an extra lot, you're not adding any infrastructure costs. If you take out the two roads, you get a lot without paying any additional infrastructure costs, right? Because your roads are there anyway, your sewer's there, your water's there. And if you sell that lot for $100,000, you make $100,000 profit. But if you loop the street around, you may be paying as much or more in infrastructure costs, because you're not, you make the money when you have streets or houses on both sides of the street. You don't have this here.
Yep.
And as an aside, I don't feel really good about the pond in the horseshoe area. It doesn't get me too excited, but I just think, in addition to, I don't think it's favorable to the developer economically to build into the woods. So that's something I think we should look at. Or I think something you guys need to really, I'd ask that you look at that.
Sure.
So maybe then it becomes a non-issue, but I just couldn't, I couldn't vote for something that took down a woodlands, because once you lose it, it's gone forever. So, I think it's too valuable. That's my take.
Rob, do we know what kind of trees those are? Are they ash trees that are dead anyways?
Sure, there are some ash up there, yes. Yep, yeah, there's birch, and we haven't identified them all. So.
They look like a lot of dead trees to me, that's why I asked.
Sure, no, there are dead ash in there, and there are a number of them. But I mean, it's still, it's still mapped as part of the, the isolated corridor, which means it's attached to the primary corridor, but it's somewhat separated because there's development interspersed in it. So, and I mean, and again, we could talk about it outside of the meeting, but I mean, the 10% that you're referring to, I think the reason the DNR has that, or is that DNR sewer pack? Sewer pack, is to allow some development within these corridors. But I mean, this, obviously there is development. It's as part of this, there is house construction inside of this development. It's just outside of the woods. I think the 10% is when there's no other option, when it's nothing but woods. That's what I think, but I didn't get a chance to look at it, and again, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to respond today.
No problem. We can work through that.
Sure. I do think it's a great, I don't want to, it's my job here to point out the issues with it. Otherwise, I think it's a phenomenal property and qualified developer, and I'd like to see what we can do to make it the best subdivision possible.
Thank you. Anybody else? Tony or Eric?
I think it's a really nice project. I think it's going to be attractive for a lot of people. Back off the road a little bit there. I kind of agree. It'd be nice to be able to get to the park from Street B. If something could be done there, I think a lot of people in the neighborhood would use that. And as far as the density goes, I don't know if a way to get some extra lots towards the front of the subdivision would be a way to address some of what Rob was getting at, lot 20 and 21. I don't know if that's earmarked for something in the future, but there's that land coming in off of LL. Okay. So that's pretty much it. I think it'll be a nice development.
Tony?
I'm good. I echo your sentiments that this is a great project that's been sitting there waiting to happen for years. I just like echoing Rob's time. Thankfully, we have some time to conceptually make sure we do it right. That's what we're here for, and he's got some great insight. But I have all the faith in the world that these are fair developers, established developers, and they're going to do its best for everybody in the long run. So this is a great project, and I look forward to seeing it come to fruition. Thank you.
And Ted, this is going to come in your lap after this meeting, so do you have any comments at all?
No, I'm good to go. I like the staff recommendation to approve the conceptual plan, and I think you have our feedback. And I think if Park and Rec, if John could get up there and just kind of identify what the hardwoods are there, so we can see, what benefit it has, and I think I love it. So
Okay. So who wants to make the motion if we're for the conceptual plan?
I'll move to approve the conceptual plan.
I'll second it.
And Eric's a second. And that was contingent on working stuff around, correct,
Yeah.
Tony? And
Yeah, could you
Rob.
add, taking into account the comments that were made, or is that?
I move to approve the conceptual plan, taking into account the concerns of Commissioner Rob.
And Eric, you would agree with that on your second?
I think Ted seconded that.
Ted, did you second it?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for getting involved. Any more comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It's approved. Thank you. Good development again. We're 3 for 3. Highland Point Subdivision, Newman Developers, Bob?
Yep. Okay, we have a second conceptual subdivision plan before us. It is the Highland Point Subdivision, located north of Newport Vista Drive and south of East Sauk Road in the town of Grafton. Brian Lindgren of Newman Development, Pewaukee, is the applicant. And it is an 82-unit, single-family subdivision on the land highlighted in the map. The site is presently, as you can tell, it's undeveloped, 31 acres of land located in the town of Grafton. It is just north of the recently completed, or almost nearly completed, Reserve at High Bluff apartment subdivision. And according to the narrative in your packet, I think the typical lot sizes are in the neighborhood of 9,000 square feet and approximately 70 by 130 by 70 dimensions. The layout is as such. Here is the concept plan itself. Again, this is conceptual plan. And again, you would see the connections to the south into both Newport Vista Drive and down into the Misty Ridge subdivision via the connections with Windrush and Misty Ridge Lane. And you can see some of the amenity of the interurban trail is right to the west of the subdivision. And I think this was also kind of discussed Tuesday night at the Design Review Board meeting. And in similar, looking at the subdivision and questions, issues to consider, is the number and placement of cul-de-sacs, is it appropriate for the site, given environmental conditions? Is there an adequate connectivity, both for future and future consideration? Is there an opportunity to take advantage of the interurban trail? And in anticipation of a future annexation, would there be sidewalks needed for East Sauk Road along the new city portion of this subdivision? During Tuesday night's discussion, I think it was generally an appreciated subdivision. We had a bit of a lengthy discussion on cul-de-sacs and which ones would be required on the site, which ones would be required a little discussion. Should this cul-de-sac be a cul-de-sac or continue to into the street here for connectivity? There was a recommendation by the board. I think it was just kind of an overall general recommendation to approve a single-family subdivision, but there would be an annexation agreement and a developer's agreement included with that as per any typical subdivision. I know there was part of the motion was that the subdivision was not, overall it approved it, but was not necessarily approving all the cul-de-sacs shown in the concept plan. That's my summary, and the applicant team is here.
Thank you. I'm Brian Lindgren with Newman Developments. Just a little background on who we are. We're a residential developer out of Pewaukee. We develop about 400 to 500 lots a year in southeast Wisconsin. That's everywhere from here, Ozaukee County, Washington County, Waukesha, and into the southern Milwaukee County areas. We've got 3 sister companies, 3 builders that we have to we provide land for. They develop throughout the same areas. Harbor Homes, Highland Homes, and Tim O'Brien Homes are our partners. The one that we'd be looking to bring here is Harbor Homes, which is successfully building houses right now in the Greystone neighborhood. Greystone is a neighborhood that we took over. We bought from a previous developer that kind of just called it quits for a little while. So we're having great success there, and we're really excited about bringing our own development here to the city of Port Washington. The property that we're talking about off of East Sauk Road, we've identified as a great option for residential development. It's adjacent to higher density uses with the townhomes, apartments, and condos. So we think that this transition back to residential is a good transition as we head north and west where the land isn't as developed right now. So that's why we've kind of picked out that RS4 zoning. We like that size. We feel that by developing lots that are in that 9,000 square foot size, our builder partners can provide new homes here in Port in the 350 to 400 range, which has been a great price point for them right now. They're selling them as fast as they can put them in the ground. So with that said, I definitely understand I'm sorry I wasn't able to make the meeting on Tuesday, but I've definitely heard the comments as far as cul-de-sacs and such. Our opinion on those is they add value, they create desirable lots, and the whole conversation on cost of development of infrastructure is really relevant here. Every foot of road is $800 a foot or more, depending on the site conditions. And for every foot that we build, we have to be able to sell that to somebody. So we really try to be as efficient as possible, which allows us on our end to develop land and deliver it to the end user at a price that makes sense in the market. But it's also a benefit to the municipalities. That's less footage of infrastructure that needs to be repaired, replaced, maintained in the future. So that's kind of why we take this this approach to it. So with that said, we're happy to answer questions and get some feedback on the use, the density, the other comments.
Rob, are you going to go first?
Did I kick off? All right.
Okay, go ahead. We can go right down the line if we want.
Sure. Okay, yeah, I do. I have voiced concerns with the cul-de-sac part. Well, the cul-de-sac, the western cul-de-sac, let's call it. And I have given it thought. We've talked. I simply can't go along with it. I understand what you're saying. I understand that cul-de-sacs may be found to be desirable lots for some people, but as essentially the default design of a subdivision, it would just be it's a problematic problematic thing to simply approve cul-de-sacs because they're maybe sell at a higher value or cost less to construct. I guess, I mean, let me, I'd like to illustrate it if I could, because I live this stuff every day, so maybe for some of you it would be helpful. If I can I take the screen over, Dan? All right. Oh, yeah, you have to let it go, Bob. See if I can get it here.
Disconnect.
Connecting.
Abort.
There we go. All right, thanks. So I'm going to give you the counter argument here. Oh, 5, 3, 4. All right. Okay, so what we're talking about here is essentially a road layout that goes something like this and something like that, and then you've got a road that goes like this and then stops here. And I'm sorry, that's not, perfect. I'm not great with this stuff, but I guess my point is, if that, well, all right. And then you have, of course, you have something coming like this and like this and like this. All right. So, I mean, if you look at just even the subdivision development that's to the south of it, I mean, perhaps, if fiduciary would have taken this, would have wanted to save a few dollars, they could have put a cul-de-sac right here and not add a connection here. And Misty Ridge could have saved some money by making a cul-de-sac right there. And, I could go into the other subdivisions as well, and we would have cul-de-sacs everywhere. But the connectivity is important because, there's multiple destinations for a person to go to. And, we talked about this at design review. We have a park up here. And right now, if somebody wants to go to that park who lives in the cul-de-sac, they got to come down the street. They have to go down here, around here, up here. Thank goodness this isn't really a cul-de-sac. Come up here and then into the park. Or they come down, they go down and around rather than coming through. Pedestrian easements are something that are sometimes used, but, again, people typically don't like that. And then we get requests that they be abandoned because people don't like people walking right past their kitchen window. I just think there's no reason to have a cul-de-sac here. And I guess I'd rather just be upfront now rather than dragging on out and say I wouldn't support it with that cul-de-sac. Otherwise, good subdivision. And they're really good. We've been working with them on Greystone. They're very professional, and I like working with Newman, so it gives me no pleasure to take a public stand against their proposed cul-de-sac. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? I have one question, if we can do it then. The road that goes out to East Sauk Drive, I used to drive that all the time because I had a friend that lived at the end of Sauk Drive. Is there a hill right there? I mean, when people come out, are they going to be able to see both ways? Is that right in the middle of a hill? I don't remember.
Yep, we are underway with some survey work right now,
Okay.
and it does look like that road may need to move to the west a little bit to preserve
Okay.
sight distances. The peak of the hill is just off to the right side, kind of along the property line where the 5 acres is, and this one picks up. So we might need to move it a little bit, but
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Brian, because I know, I think the speed limit's 35. Nobody goes 35. It's real simple, because I don't. I don't. It looks like a country road to me, and you go 40, 45, and just keep moving right along.
You know, you're losing all those protections afforded you next week.
On the
so,
21st, I am
yeah,
available
you gotta do the speed limit.
I am available for speeding tickets and parking tickets, I was told.
I'll be watching for you.
Yeah, those are revenue opportunities.
What? Okay. Tony, do you have a comment?
First of all, I think it's an excellent use of otherwise known just dead space that's been sitting there for years, and this is a great opportunity, a great development. What are the next steps for future annexation? Because I understand that we passed this tonight, it still remains in the township. What would it take for us to? I know is there another lot that needs to be sold, or what? Or is this once this gets approved, it's
No, the conceptual stage is currently, we would have to work on negotiating the terms of the annexation. Because this is the town, we would have to annex it to the city. It is an eligible piece to be annexed based on our experience with it.
Sure.
It does not create any islands or anything like that, isolating sections of the town. So it is available to annex. The order of operations, we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the use, the potential zoning, and so on, before we would pursue any type of annexation.
Thank you.
Eric?
I think it's a very nice subdivision. I appreciate, continuing the single family out that way. As it heads back into the countryside, I think that's a nice transition. The only real feedback that I have, other than what's been mentioned already, is there some sort of an easement to get to the interurban trail?
Yeah, so this is just conceptually drawn, and as we advance plans, that is absolutely, we feel that's an amenity to the people who live here as well as the rest of the community, that we would make a connection, an additional connection to the interurban trail. With that being said, just to comment on the cul-de-sac discussion, I think that's really the best compromise with that western cul-de-sac, is create a pedestrian trail off the end of the cul-de-sac straight through, because it's really the pedestrian traffic that wants to go to the west. The vehicular traffic wants to go north or south to Sauk Road or to over to Port Road. So that, and we did the math, and just the reason we stuck with this and wanted to discuss it tonight is this property narrows down to a point. It's not as easy to connect the roads in a more of a grid-like pattern. We would have to run 350 additional feet of road to pick up one lot, and the math of that is really hard to handle. That's our opinion.
That's all I had.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, do we want to give them, 20? I didn't see your mic on.
I'd have to echo Rob's comments. I'm not a fan of cul-de-sacs. I think they're problematic for parking. I think they're problematic for public safety too, which I used to be in. They're not conducive at all for that. So I understand you're going to at least have one, but I'd not be in favor of the other. Also, are these going to be sidewalks in the subdivision?
Yes, I believe that's city ordinance.
Yeah, they
Okay,
have to be.
okay, thank you. It's very complimentary to the area though. Thank you.
There's a city ordinance about sidewalks? I didn't know that.
So, Ted, you deal with it.
Rob, you have your mic on?
Do you want it off?
No, I see the mic on, that's why I would.
gonna say?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say something.
I'm ready to make a motion unless anyone else wants to.
I think that'd be wonderful.
I'll move to approve the concept plan with the elimination of the cul-de-sac to the west, and obviously with a pre-annexation or developer's agreement and to be in place, and annexation and all of the necessary steps, which I'm sure Newman is well aware of.
Okay, do we have a second from
I'll
anybody?
second it.
Alderman Newmeyer, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Unanimous. Judy again, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the feedback.
Okay. Final plat for Prairie's Edge.
All right. You know what? Dan, I think I need the 4-digit code to get up and running. Thank you. 87. It's an 87, 4087, right?
It's your bank card?
It's actually Bosco. Okay. This is consideration and possible action on the Prairie's Edge North Phase final plat. Prairie's Edge Development, it's located on the east side of South Wisconsin Street and north of Sunset Road. Applicant is Black Cap Halcyon from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This Prairie's Edge is divided into a north, center, and south phase. The final plat up on the screen before you and under consideration represents the final plat for the north phase of the development. If you recall, the north phase is essentially comprised of the larger parcel here is for the assisted living and memory care center. The outlots here, this is the main entrance into the north phase via this outlot and this private entry street, along with this road here, and then the 14 subdivision lots on the east, near the bluff edge, facing the lake, of course. And typically, final subdivision plats are only approved after the physical installation of the roadways and utilities. However, in discussing this with staff and the applicants, they have requested a conditional approval of the final plat. And then just through these discussions, if there is any conditional approval by the commission, I would want to add to any conditional recommendation 4 items, just a certification by the developer that the north phase grading work is complete. Second, it would be a letter of credit for infrastructure and approved by the city. Approval of the addendum to the developer's agreement, and I think also a due date of 90 days for meeting these requirements. That is, if there's any conditional recommendation, I would recommend those, but that's all I have.
Well, I'll make some.
Excuse me, my mic's on now.
I'll just make one comment, and then I am ready to make a motion. I certainly don't want to cut anyone else off, though. So, yeah, I mean, we've discussed this internally. We have given this developer conditional approvals before. I would kindly ask that conditional approvals not be requested by developers in the future. I think that's the reason for the preliminary plat process and the final platting process have their order for a reason. The preliminary plat approval gives the developer the assurance that if they live up to the developer's agreement and they provide a letter of credit or satisfy the requirements of the developer's agreement, that they will receive final plat approval at the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Plan Commission. So I think that doing this conditionally can lead to confusion down the road. The city, I think, has really worked hard to facilitate this developer, and we're willing to do so once again. And so I can make a motion unless that would be a problem, Mr. Mayor.
I'm not sure. Did Lisa, do you have any comments?
Was just going to mention that there's really no difference between the preliminary plat that was submitted and approved and the final plat, excepting a couple rounding changes. So there are a couple lots that are either 1 square foot larger or 1 square foot smaller based on the state's request to change the rounding of the square footage. Aside from that, there are no changes between the preliminary plat and the final plat. Also, sorry, one other item is I know Bob had mentioned or referred to the CBRF lot, and that is, while it is shown here, it is not, as you will note, it is not actually part of the north phase because that will be conveyed separately via certified survey map.
Correct.
Is that correct, Tony?
Okay, well, I will move, per our city planner's recommendation, I will move that the proposed final plat for Perry's Edge subdivision be approved, subject to satisfaction of the following conditions by no later than July 16th, 2021. So that's 90 days from tomorrow, I guess. The developer shall provide the city with written and electronic evidence as required by the Master Development Agreement dated August 15th, 2017. Certify that the grading work for the north phase of the subdivision has been completed in accordance with the approved master grading plan. That's number one. Number two, the developer shall deliver to the city an irrevocable standby letter of credit in the amount of the estimated total cost of completing the infrastructure improvements in accordance with the approved civil engineering plans for the north phase of the subdivision. The amount of the letter of credit shall be subject to the approval of the city engineer, and the form of the letter of credit shall be subject to the approval of the city attorney. That's number two. Number three, the approval and execution by the city and developer and the recording of an addendum to the parties' master development agreement and land purchase agreement relating to the north phase, central phase, and south phase of the subdivision. So that's the condition number three. Condition number four is if these conditions are not satisfied by July 16th, 2021, then this approval shall be null and void, and the developer shall be required to reapply for review and approval of the final plat. Period. That's my motion. I can repeat it. I know. Well, you know, Bob summarized it so well, it was easy for me to just kind of recite it from knowledge.
Nope, I think that's why we turned it over to you, because you know what you're doing with this. So do we have a second for this lengthy motion?
I'm still digesting it.
Yeah. Need a Tums?
Robin, can I ask a clarifying question?
Please.
Robin, your motion then, so if 91 days from now, what happens if there's no changes? Based on how you just made that motion?
Yeah, if they don't meet really conditions 1, 2, and 3 by July 16th, then this conditional approval is null and void, and so they would need to come back, presumably at the July or whenever, a later plan commission date to get final plat approval again. So this has they have 90 days to satisfy the conditions that we laid out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave?
No, it's null and void, so it's like it never happened. We would have
Microphone,
to-
Tony.
We would have to do it again.
Please.
If we voted it down, does it stand true that it's null and void now?
If I could,
City Administrator has a comment?
for the sake of clarifying, so if the motion failed, would it then cease to exist, the conditional approval? Yes. So if you voted down Rob's motion, they would not be receiving any type of approval. But that open up the floor for future discussion for any other motion, if this body chooses to go down that direction.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Newmeyer, please.
I appreciate Commissioner Vanderhoven's motion. My only concern is staff recommended as standard practice, we not approve it. Are we setting ourselves in the future? I mean, every time a developer comes in and keeps asking for an extension or an adjustment, don't we have to show some type of consistency? It's a question.
Just real quick, Alderman Newmeyer, just with that staff recommendation. I think that recommendation was part of the report that went out, and subsequent with conversations with city staff and the applicants, it made sense to proceed with the recommendation, or at least the recommendation to which Rob was speaking to.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may add just for a moment, the ordinances do indicate that, at least as far as the letter of credit for the infrastructure goes, the ordinances do allow for a letter of credit to be submitted instead of actual completion of the infrastructure work. So I don't, maybe things are not typically done this way in the city, but the ordinances contemplate it. As Wisconsin statute 236.13 also allows for the developer the subdivider to provide security to ensure that the improvements are completed. So I don't think it is unusual. I think it happens very often. But the other conditions, I think Eric will share. We've been working on the addendum for quite some time. I think there was a pause on the city's part prior to providing comments for a number of reasons. So we have been, we had a call today. We are proceeding with that. We anticipate that being resolved very quickly. Also, as I'm sure you have seen, we have already started the grading work. I think I heard that they are ahead of schedule. I dare to say that with Wisconsin weather, because at any moment they could be behind, but we anticipate that may be done early as well. This will allow us to proceed with the development and the offers that we have on hand.
Thanks, Lisa. Rob, I drove by there. I didn't see any grading work. Did you?
I'll be honest, I haven't been by, but I haven't been by this week, so I.
Okay, I drove by earlier today on the way home from Craft.
Okay.
They are commenced work.
Okay, good. Okay, well, thank you. So, I would second this, what, Tony? Ted, did you want to talk, or? I would second this to get this project moving along, and the important factor is if all these requirements are not met, it's null and void. So this can be like a one-time only to get this going off the ground, but I would believe in the future, the new mayor would not probably go along with this, I would think. But I would second this with, okay? Any further discussion then? Yes, Ted?
Yeah, Bob, give us some insight, please, as to why the staff recommendation changed. You said that there were internal conversations, et cetera, et cetera. I hold that really like your recommendations are something that, you know, like I'm always ready to just turn on the microphone and move to approve what you recommended there. And then the shift. So what's the significant shift in the conversations?
I think it was just a fleshing out of just the conditions, which would probably provide a staff a level of comfort rather than either pausing or holding the final plat, which I think was being pressed by the developers. And I also think that I think it just gives us a point to make going forward that you know, we're just not, that's not going to work going forward. But in this case, just given where they are in the development process, where they are on their end of things, combined with those conditions pointed out, it kind of gave staff a better feel and a level of comfort that we could move forward.
Okay. So any further discussion? We have a motion by Rob. I did the second. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed? Say nay.
3 nays. I didn't hear Alderman Newmeyer's. Aye. You were aye. Aye. So it's 3-3. It fails. So at 3-3, it fails. Okay.
Is there a possibility to open the floor for further discussion and reconsideration?
I think only one of the nay people can ask for reconsideration, correct? Is that Robert's
I believe
rules?
that's correct.
If you vote no, you're the only ones who can make a new motion. That would be correct. Or change your vote.
Okay.
If you said no with conditions.
All right.
I just would like, if possible, the opportunity to provide maybe a little bit more history.
It's up to the chair.
Quickly, Lisa, yes. I think this is not going to move anywhere, but go ahead, please.
Okay. I just wanted to reiterate, this discussion of wanting to proceed with a letter of credit for the infrastructure is not anything that is new. And we have had in email discussions with city attorney, I think Tony Brown was copied on it as well. We had laid out the procedure, the path forward back in October of last year of how we had planned on proceeding to see if that was something that was acceptable to the city. And we detailed 15 items in each step how we were going to proceed generally. In this grading complete, letter of credit in place, approval of plat, conditional, we had talked through all of these items. And we proceeded with offers and deadlines based upon those discussions. So this isn't as though we came up with a plan last week or even before that. We've been working towards this day since last October when it was first proposed. And I feel like every time, we kind of talk through with the city. Granted, it may be a little unusual, but we talked through it in order to, move forward with various aspects of the development. And it's disappointing to hear that after having these discussions and this agreement, granted, I understand that the Plan Commission can, is voting and what, our discussions were aren't binding on the Plan Commission. As an attorney, I would hope that the city can have those discussions and the Plan Commission would see that we are working with the city and we've made this plan that goes back several months now. So once again, it's disappointing that we haven't been able to get through to this point. As far as the addendum is concerned, my last revision was sent to the city on January 6th, I believe. And comments were received within the last week or so. So it isn't for lack of effort to move forward and try and get things resolved. I understand the city has other developments, but we are trying very hard to move forward as quickly as possible. And I do feel like we've done everything we're supposed to do, and then we get a setback because the Plan Commission votes no. So I would ask that you reconsider, because this is not something new. This is not something that's been thrown out there.
Well, Bob, go ahead.
Now, I just want to make a clarification or ask for one. This is a final plat, and final plats are approved by Common Council. I'm assuming that this is a recommendation to the council?
I would think so.
Yeah. To clarify that a little further, unless there's additional discussion, I believe it would be, correct? Okay.
What I know, yeah. Okay. So I will ask the no people if they want to change their vote or do another motion. Seeing that looks like they do not.
No, I mean, if, just to clarify, it's right in the memo here, it says, next steps by the Plan Commission, this item requires no additional approvals from the Plan Commission as the final plats are approved by the Common Council.
Right, so it goes to council.
Right, this is just a recommendation. The council's been negotiating this from the beginning, so I think it'd be best to leave it up to them.
Correct.
Is my opinion.
And it goes with a 3-3, and the 3-3 is a defeating final plat motion, so it's up to the council now. We'll go to council on the 20th, and the new mayor can be in charge.
Okay, and I'm sorry, it's hard to via Zoom and the phone to hear who was opposed. If you wouldn't mind just restating that.
It would be Commissioner Matera, Commissioner Ryer, and Commissioner Knightsky.
Thank you.
Okay. So that being done, we'll move on to item 9, zone code amendment.
Okay. Both item 9 and item 10 are have joined at the hip or could be. Let me just get into the background of this agenda item. This is a zoning text amendment to allow the indoor storage of boats as a allowable use in the I-1 Industrial District, and the applicant is Ted Weller of Milwaukee. Mr. Weller is the owner of the property commonly referred to as the former Simplicity property at 500 South Spring Street. At its February meeting, the Plan Commission took up his concept plan for the storage of boats with 4 external buildings, external from the Simplicity property itself. Unit 1 would be right fronting along Spring Street, and then units 2, 3, and 4 would be on the far north end of the property. You can see here in the aerial where these existing trailers are kept.
Okay.
At that meeting in February, I think the concept plan was held. I think there were concerns expressed by the Plan Commission, both for the applicant's overall longer range plans for the entirety of the property. And I think there were discussions about not just the vagueness, but just that it was the commission's thoughts that boat storage was not included in the list of permitted uses in the I-1 district. And so with that, staff was directed to, the item was held, and staff was directed to discuss the details with the applicant regarding both the overall plans for the site and about getting more clarity or addressing the wording that did not allow for boat storage in industrial. So with that, I'll address the zoning question is being addressed by his application for the zoning text amendment, as here now. And then just with our discussions, and I'll turn it over soon in a minute, about the site with the plan. There is storage in there. There is also warehousing from Clean Test, but I think the main tenant is CPI, which is looking to expand, I think, within the Simplicity building. And I think that is kind of right now the the plans for the site. It is our understanding, and he made clear that he wishes to keep the site industrial. He is tenanting up with warehousing, with light manufacturing, and yes, storage. And so he has no other plans outside of that. I think what I'll do now is, and so what we have here is just taking up maybe the zoning text amendment or the option of bringing back the concept plan for the units you see above. But I think what I'll do here is pause and let the applicant team, or at least the interested parties, speak to this issue.
I'm going to turn on your mic. Is it Ted? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's like we talked about at the last one. Put up the boat storage for the marina for the people to store their boats. So, I mean, are there any questions?
I just have a comment for the rest of the commissioners. I did receive a call from Eric from CPI. He wants to rent more space from you. I agree, Ted. I believe he rents 80,000 or how many?
Yeah, he is just growing at such a
And
fast rate.
He does have another machine coming. He does stuff with plastics. And he says that if he has more space, he has a contracts. He has 50 people now. He'd love to hire, like 10 more immediately or so, and 25 in no time. So if he has the space, he'll expand. So I guess go from there. I guess it's still, I don't know if it's allowable, if we're gonna, but I guess if we're gonna put more jobs in the city, and they're gonna be manufacturing and that type of job in industrial district, I think I would be okay with it. But anybody else have any comments? I know, Rob, you usually have good comments on this. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, you do.
Thanks. Yeah, exactly. The CPI, which building are they in? Refresh my memory, the southern one or the northern one?
Well, it's all one building. It's like it's connected in the middle, but CPI right now is pretty much in the middle. Clean Test is in the north end, and they take up 125,000 on the north end, and 25,000 on the far south end. So, Clean Test also is a large employer in there as well.
And I'm sorry, what does Clean Test do in the building?
They warehouse.
Okay, they warehouse.
It's a facility. As you can see, there are other buildings right there.
Mm-hmm.
The long one, those are both Clean Test.
Mm-hmm.
And so they obviously got this product, I guess, goes to their main facility or something, and it works out perfect for them because it's right in between their main plant and this other storage plant. So they keep taking more and more and more space. And so they're probably going to be taking more space too, I hope,
I think your building is about 500,000 square feet?
I think the main area is like 350,000, but there's also another person on the south end that's M&M.
Right.
And I think, again, when they started, they had like 3-4 employees. Now they're up to, I think, like a dozen, something like that. So.
And Eric from CPI did mention that Ted is fixing the place up. He's not letting it, go down. He's fixing it up because he has people that want to stay there. They have no other place to go, basically, also, but Ted is fixing it up for them so they can continue their manufacturing. So I'll let it open for anybody else that has comments.
Could you refresh my memory as to what these buildings are going to be, how they're going to be built? These are all enclosed cement floors?
Ted?
They're gonna be heated with a bathroom
Okay.
with a couple 18-foot doors, so they can lend themselves to people storing large machinery. Let's say, if CPI would have a couple of these machines that they need to store or something like that. But, the initial plan is the boat storage, but, they always have the ability for other stuff. And that's what, like Eric needs some space. So right now I'm in the process of moving Jackson Machinery out of the building into the north end. So in that white building, so Eric can take more space.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, but the question is whether or not to add boat storage as an approved use in the industrial zoning. All right.
Well, I would like to address that. I mean, I think people think boat as in a little boat. And when you say personal storage, like a boat, where are these people going to store this? I mean, you're talking about a yacht that has to be brought in with a semi that has to be like very close to the marina. There's very few spots you're going to put that in. So, it's going to go in some kind of large industrial building. There's no other place you're going to put these yachts. But then I think I would like to see it in Port Washington because of the marina. All the people like the marina. They want to be close to their boats, so they can come in on the weekend and polish them. And there's like a camaraderie with a lot of these people in the boat club and everything. And some of it's like a hangout for them, when they come see each other, and that's the way it is.
And it is indoor. It's not outdoor. So.
Okay.
Excuse me, what? Oh, I echo.
So yeah, that's a good point. So question, if this is approved, this will be, the boats that are stored here will be indoors. This won't turn out to be an indoor storage and then also a winter bubble wrap lot with 8, 9, 10 boats. I'm just curious how that would go. Or this all be stored in?
Yeah, these things range from 35 feet to about 50 feet. So, you can do the math on some. You're maybe about 15, 20 boats you can put in there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Rob, go ahead.
Okay, sorry to dominate. Yeah, I guess I'm not in support of adding boat storage to our list of permitted uses in the industrial parks or the industrial zoning district. And I just don't think, I recognize that boats, yachts, whatever you want to call them, need a home. They all do currently have a home somewhere, and they don't belong in the industrial zoning district. I don't think it's the highest and best use of valuable city real estate. Manufacturing is fine. The existing uses for the industrial zoning district are what would be preferred by a municipality, not storage. And I think if we permit it, you're going to see more and more storage in our limited industrial zoned space. We want to see jobs in those space. We don't want boats or anything else taking up valuable industrial zoning space. This is not a high value use. I'm sorry. It's valuable to somebody, but I think there are better places. The Simplicity facility itself is nearly a half a mile long. That takes up quite a bit of city street and sewer and water. that is not being used for sewer and water, a stored boat that has a bathroom is not a real big revenue generating customer. But we have to support those utilities, and the value, this property was purchased for over $4 million. The appraised value is just over $1 million. So we're at $60,000 an acre for this property. It just, if you have storage, you're not going to get the highest value out of your property. And I just think industrial should be what our industrial uses are already designated at. And those would be job creating uses, not cold storage or heated storage. It doesn't matter. Storage for boats or other personal effects. That's my.
Bob, you wanna jump in? You get the mic on?
I'll wait for, if the commission is done with their questions or comments, I can jump back in with my staff recommendation.
I was just going to jump in that after talking to Eric from CPI, he's got 50 employees already, Rob, and he's plans 25 more, but he needs the room to get rid of the boat storage, so I don't want to lose 75 jobs. And I understand if we can
I'm
move the
confused.
boats and put them in a building, then we could have more manufacturing and jobs there. So it's a catch-22, but.
Wait, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Well,
you're saying he's got to move boats out in order to move.
Well, I think that there would be more room available if the boats that we store in there now could be moved to separate buildings and just have the big $380,000, $400,000 square foot building used for manufacturing or warehousing or whatever everybody wants to use. Is that correct, Ted? Thank you.
Well, then I would turn that back to Bob to if he may have a creative solution. But I just think, the short term problem that you're alluding to, well, I would be concerned about you're changing the zoning code for an entire zoning district, not just one property. And so, we don't want to see all our industrial property, which used to be flourishing, turning into nothing but storage locations. I think that's a dead industrial district. And so I would be very concerned about, while I understand what you're saying, I certainly respect the notion and want to support our businesses.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Anyhow, I'll shut up.
So the question here is on zoning. When would the natural review of this area and zoning for that area occur in process?
When you say natural review of the zoning, what do you?
Yeah, so in your process, do you do a 36-month review of zoning in different regions, 24-month, 48-month?
You mean of existing zoning?
Yeah, I mean, to Rob's point, this is an industrial tract, potential shovel-ready for other projects, other things. Expanded, to Marty's point, if you put boats in there for the rest of your life, we've got boat storage in the middle of town and no opportunity there to expand or do other pieces for him. So when's the natural zoning review of a property like that or a region like that?
I don't know if there is one. I think oftentimes to address what you're saying, it's either through, oftentimes in most communities, it's either reacting to something or it's a city getting in front of an issue and addressing it then and there, or it's through the planning process, both either land use process or just the master or comprehensive or area planning process. I'm not familiar with a lot of cities that do just a regular cycle through of zoning specifically, at least the ones I've had experience with. Usually that's covered under reacting, or actually more proactive is through the planning process of neighborhood plans, corridor plans, comprehensive plannings, or as we go along, hey, staff identifies an issue down the road and they address it through zoning changes in the code. But like a regular cycle, I'm not familiar with that, to be honest with you.
Just a point of clarification again. So there currently are boats stored. They are currently storing boats in the old Simplicity building, correct?
Yeah, to maybe address that a little more is when I bought the building, that's mainly what the building was. There was really no companies in there.
Correct.
And there was about 100,000 square feet used for boat storage. So, I mean, I actually moved the boats out to make room for Clean Test. Clean Test was already a customer of mine in some other buildings. They wanted this space, so I moved the boats out. So it's not that I would ever take a company over a boat, you know? I mean, when a company is going to sign a nice long-term lease, they're going to get the building. So that's why I'm putting up these nice buildings. If another company or something would want to lease that for, let's say, whatever type of building he is, I would definitely do something like that.
Sure.
But the initial planning is I got to say what I'm going to do with these. So that's why they're going to be initially built for the boats. But I'm putting in the plumbing and everything, you know, for doing that. And I can tell you, you know, what I've also seen in the industrial park is these smaller, like condo type buildings that have been approved. And I mean, to me, those are more personal storage than these are. We're talking about, you know, 12,000 square foot clear span buildings. Then if you look at the stuff they just built, they're much smaller and have much more limited uses, you know, where these would have much more industrial type uses for the future.
Yeah, I guess that goes to my back to my previous comment of not wanting boats parked outside. That was something that I had seen, that development of moving from outside to inside, or inside to outside. And I guess one of my concerns is, I applaud your commitment to your investment and making it better. And we as the city definitely want to work with you. My concern is, echoing Rob's, is it the best use of space? And if we have, I guess my question is, if we're worried about zoning and having boat storage, hasn't he been storing boats? Has he been storing boats against code all these years? He or the prior owner?
I don't know, you know, it hasn't come up. I haven't looked, you know, is it a permitted use?
Yeah, I guess that's
I know.
if that's what we're debating
Yeah.
today, but he's been doing it for years anyways. I guess that's one of my.
Because it is similar language with, in the industrial park. My assumption is it's under warehousing, as it currently stands.
You'd rather see him inside than outside, Tony, right?
I'd rather see him inside than outside, but I guess if he's been, I don't know if it's called a grandfather clause or what, but I mean, we've been doing it for all these years, and I want to work with him, and I definitely want to. And if these buildings are going to be built in such a way that it make for an easy transition into manufacturing down the road and get rid of boat storage altogether, I don't think they're being built for boat storage. I think that's the initial use until they could become more manufacturing.
Tony, I could address that. There's right in Grafton, Great Lakes. That's where their main facility was, and it was all built boat storage. They have sold that. They moved to the town of Grafton, where they put up more. And now, where their original was, there's only one building being used now for boat storage, and those people are going to be all out because another business is taking that over. So that entire complex now is no boat storage. Because those buildings were built like this that they lend themselves to industrial uses for businesses.
Sorry, Mayor. All this technology. To address one of Rob's concerns, now if we built these boat storages and your current tenants were able to expand, would we be able to get more use of the current infrastructure by design? 'Cause they'd be expanding their use of utilities. I mean, I'm asking you that would work, right? Wouldn't that address one of your concerns?
Well, yeah, I guess, like I said, but the expansion for boat storage, I would say the expansion we'd prefer to see is expansion under the current zoning codes for industrial over boat storage.
Heads up.
Bob, do you still stand with your recommendation to go with option 2, which is table the zoning text and allow him to continue under his past practice here?
I do.
No, that's fine. It's like a wedding. So I'll move to accept staff recommendation for option 2 to table the zoning text change and allow the original concept plan proposal to move forward under current zoning language and best practice, past practice.
Second.
Et cetera. And then with the aspiration that you turn that into a very successful and expensive piece of property for our city. Seems fair, right, Ted?
May I add to the?
I agree.
To clarify the motion, does the commission wish to formally address the concept plan now? This was in February, or would they prefer to see this as a standalone item to go over it at the next meeting? So they getting into the details of any of the site plan or the design or landscaping.
I think the city administrator is going to comment.
I thought the next item is the concept plan.
Right.
Correct.
So what was the question?
I'm asking if we're bringing the concept back with since last saw this in February, is the commission comfortable addressing the concept plan now? Or would they prefer to wait until the next plan commission meeting when they have a full report and are able to comment on just the buildings, the layout, the landscaping, what happens? Otherwise, it is a concept plan. And it would still require final building.
I read it and I was prepared to talk about it, so.
But we have a motion and a second for the zone amendment, correct? Which is different.
Yeah,
than
I would
item-
wrap up this item
Right,
and then
I would
you guys
wrap
can
up
address the
9 and then you can get on to 10, okay? So we have a motion by Commissioner Knightsky and a second by our city engineer for the zone code amendment with option 2. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Unanimous. Now we'll go on the concept plan, please.
Oh, you want me to take it up officially? Okay.
Sure. It's on the agenda. Let's.
Okay, this is a concept plan for indoor boat storage facility at 500 South Spring Street. The concept plan, as shown in your packet and shown almost, it depicts 4 indoor boat storage units. Unit 1 is fronting along North Spring Street, and it's approximately 50 by 230. And then units 2, 3, and 4 are on the far north sides of the site, and each are 70 by 170 feet approximate. That is essentially the concept plan. There's some new pavement proposed for just in front of Unit 2, but there is no other plans for the concept. I think in my site original report, I think I questioned Unit 1, just given the design of the building and its proximity up on to Spring Street and the neighborhood, or, absent any additional landscaping or screening. But 2, 3, and 4 units seem to be appropriate in that location. Again, as a concept plan, we would need to see a final site plan and building approval, and that would be going through the design review board process and showing up in front of this body for a final.
If we hurry up and do something, the new mayor won't have a choice. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
By the lame duck mayor.
Quack. Rob, do you have any comments? None. Anybody else have any comments?
I'm thirsty.
Well, we should wait till the mayor-elect comes back, don't you think? Or are you
No,
going to make a motion?
wait till he comes back.
Or are you going to make a motion?
I'm going to make a motion to approve the concept plan.
Alderman Newmeyer. And we have a motion to accept the concept plan. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Rob is the second. Now that the mayor-elect is back, do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It's approved. Thank you, Ted. Forthcoming events. No forthcoming events? Alderman Newmeyer is thirsty and the mayor is buying.
That's right.
The new mayor-elect next Tuesday night.
Well, theoretically, the mayor has the floor until he turns it over. So once he presents his 43-page PowerPoint, I've been in town for 43 years. There'll be something said about every year I've been here. Sorry, Ted?
Yeah,
It's me. I got control.
If I have to wrestle the gavel from you, I think that would be great news, but that'll be about it.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Because if I hold the gavel.
It's true.
So, any forthcoming events anybody knows of?
I just want to, because I won't get a chance to do it again, but I want to thank you, Mayor Becker, for all of your service to, the commission, the time. A great example tonight is, local business owner calls you to give you a heads up. I'm probably going to be moving and expanding and, in a short period of time, in 36 months, to build those relationships across the city and be a man of integrity it's admirable, and it set a great example for me. So thank you for your service to our city, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I guess, I was on the fence with this, but when someone tells me they're going to expand, put 25 more jobs on the table, I'm all for it, So that's the only forthcoming events I know of. Next Tuesday, I give the gavel up, and I thank the
But you're in
people
the club for life.
For what?
So,
I'm in the
you
club?
give the gavel up, but you're in the club for life now.
Don't use the word honorable. No, I'm sorry. The Honorable Mayor Marty Becker. No. So,
You will be filling all vacant commissions.
Yeah.
I can't find people for it.
okay. All right, and just so you know, there are certain things that happen. Like when you ask for adjournment, there are certain people that say, I make a motion, I second it. That's just the way it is. So, with that, I would look for a motion for adjournment.
So move.
And that would be Rob and Tony. All in favor, say aye.
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 Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
It was a marathon.
That's not bad. That's 2 hours. Mike's on.